So, I want to talk a little bit about the man or bear controversy that's been going on lately. For those of you who are not aware of this, what the hell is this even about? Because, it's kind of hard to keep up with all of this, internet shit sometimes, right? If you're not terminally online, like I used to be, I'm not anymore. I actually make a point of it to spend a good amount of my day not looking at a computer screen if I can help it. Because, you just get obsessed with shit like this. If you're terminally online, it's not good for your health. So, it took me a few days to catch on to what the fuck was going on with this whole man versus bear shit. What exactly does it mean? Well, there was a video by a guy named Call Me BKBK, who posted on TikTok, and he did a hypothetical question. Would you rather be stuck in the woods with a man you don't know, a strange man, or a bear? And that kind of got some legs under it, and people started making video responses to it. In particular, women were making responses saying that they choose the bear. And a lot of men saw that, and they kind of went crazy. So then you started seeing all this shit about men making response videos, calling women nuts, calling them crazy, saying they're entitled and all that shit. And, obviously in real life, you would be begging for help from a man and blah, 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 blah. The men's rights kind of guys making responses to this and shit like that. The reasoning, it seems to be, from most women is that, well, a bear can only kill you. A bear will just kill you and eat you. He won't do weird shit and rape you or sexually assault you or chop you up into little pieces and wear your skin like a mask and shit like that. That seems to be the response from most women. It's like bears aren't serial killers. They're just animals. You have a higher chance of surviving when encountering a bear. So here's one of the early response videos this is from somebody named Thought Miami 69420. I don't know. Maybe they just reposted this or something. I don't know. This is one of the early responses to this whole controversy, and her reasoning as to why she would choose the bear.
I saw this video of a guy responding to a comment, and the comment basically said, you can't tell me that a woman would be less intimidated by a bear than a man. And honestly, I immediately thought, no, I'd much rather face a bear while I'm alone in the woods than a man while I'm alone in the woods. Objectively, a crazy thought. Crazy thought. And my immediate rationalization for that thought is a bear can be reasoned with. Which is the craziest thing I've ever thought. But it's true. When you're facing a bear that might want to maul you, there are protocols in place. You can wave your arms and yell at the bear to let the bear know that you know it's there, and they generally won't attack you. And if a bear is attacking you, you can use bear spray or even punch them in the nose, and that gives you a pretty good chance of the bear stopping even momentarily from mauling you. We don't have that privilege with men.
By the way, folks, I'm not exactly sure how true that is. I guess it depends on how large the bear is and how strong you are. If you just punch it in the nose, if it's going to go away. I do know you're supposed to yell and make yourself look big and intimidate it, and that has a chance of scaring the bear off. I know that's true. Just kind of want to point that out, is that, yeah, maybe you don't take advice from TikTok videos on how to survive bear attacks. But let's continue. I think her point stands. I think her point that there's things you can do to get away from the bear. Yeah, that's true. If you do happen to have bear spray, if you do happen to have a weapon, or maybe you can scare it, maybe you can wave your arms, scream real loud, shit like that, and it might scare it away. The point is valid. Moving on.
If a man has made the conscious decision that he wants to take sexual gratification from your body willingly or unwillingly, and he has decided to assault you or rape you, you cannot rationalize with him. In my experience, and in women in my life, those men cannot be rationalized with, okay? You can't, and even violence can't stop them. There's photos of men who raped women, and there's scratches, deep lacerations along their face. Their eyes have been almost fucking stabbed out, their dicks have been chopped off, and they still continue to try to assault these women. Like, it's insane, but it's true. Men who have made the conscious decision to rape a woman cannot be reasoned with like a wild animal can be reasoned with. It's crazy.
So, I would just like to say to that, I don't think reason is the right word per se. Right? Like you're not really reasoning with a bear when you spray it in the face with bear spray or you punch it in the nose. You're using violence is what that is. So violence is the only thing that can stop a man who's trying to assault you or rape you. It's literally the only thing. Where she says, men can't be reasoned with and not even violence works. Violence works. It depends if you're capable of dishing out that kind of violence. If you have bear spray, I'm pretty sure if you spray a man in the face with some bear spray, you'll get a reaction that will at least allow you to maybe run away for a little bit. But I know that it's not something that stops everybody. I know there's plenty of cases where men, get sprayed in the face with mace or something, and it doesn't stop them. I mean, I think her point stands, though. Her point stands. The point that she's making is that a bear is an animal, and it'll react like an animal. And a crazed human being, especially a crazed man in the woods who's a nutcase who's trying to rape and murder you, has much more willpower than a bear does. It's a valid point, and it's a valid fear. My channel is 97% men are the viewers. So I'm speaking to you guys out there, right? And for the 2% of my viewers who are women, I'm sure you'll probably agree as well. So my point is that I don't think we understand as men how much of a physical advantage we really have when it comes to women. And when I say this, I mean your average man and your average woman. Obviously, there are women who are, super strong. They work out, shit like that. Not talking about them. I'm talking about your average woman is smaller and physically weaker than your average man. That's just the truth. There's nothing misogynist about that. And I don't think that your average man understands that strength and balance. And they don't understand that as a woman, any any you come across is physically capable of murdering you if they want to. We don't get that as guys. So, guys, you ever go in a elevator or something late at night someplace and there's a woman in there and she's sketchy, you could tell that she's feeling a little afraid of you or whatever. She's standing far off in the corner. What do? You do your best to not appear intimidating. Maybe you nod or something like that. You don't say anything. You just nod, hello, how you doing? Whatever, something like that. And you just mind your business to try to put her at ease. That happens all the fucking time. And I know that I'm not a physically intimidating man towards other men. I'm not super tall. I'm not super jacked. I'm not super fucking muscular. I don't have tattoos and shit all over me and stuff like that. I don't look like a dangerous person. But still, I've encountered that same reaction where I'll be someplace late at night, maybe walking, whatever, and there'll be a woman there and she's doing everything she can to not be noticed by me. And it's okay, well, she's afraid. I know you guys out there have encountered this. They won't make eye contact with you. They'll clutch their purse a little closer to their body, shit like that. It's a natural reaction when you encounter a strange person late at night. You can't get offended at that. It's just a natural thing. It's okay, well, she doesn't know who you are. Here's the thing. For the 2% of my audience who are women out there who are watching this, men don't have that reaction towards other men. We don't understand that. That's not a thing that happens. You see it, sometimes you see a guy, he looks sketchy. He looks dangerous. He looks like a gangster. It looks like he might mug you or something. Then you get apprehensive. But for me, just walking around at night, if I just see some random dude, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be afraid of him. I'm not thinking that he's going to rape and kill me. It's not a thought that enters my mind. And I don't think that other men understand that. For women, it is. I may be afraid of somebody murdering me or robbing me, or something like that, sticking a gun in my face. But the idea that another man is gonna like kidnap me and hold me in a dungeon under his house and shit and rape me for fucking 5 years straight or something like that, that's not a fear that I have. And it's like, well, that is a fear that most women have. They have to think about that kind of thing. Why do you think, guys out there, why do you think when you go on a first date with a girl, why is the first date always in a public place? It's because then she can get away if you turn out to be a fucking serial killer. That's why. That's why you don't meet someone, your first date isn't like a long walk on a beach or something late at night, right? Or a hike in the woods or whatever. Like, that's not your first date. Your first date is always, let's meet at Starbucks or something like that. Or let's go downtown and go shopping or whatever. Some place where there's lots of people around so that if you turn out to be fucking Jeffrey Dahmer, right, she could get help. See, that it's not a thing that we don't consider that. We don't have to think about that. Now, I understand why men take offense at this, though. Okay, because there are a lot of men who have made response videos to this man versus bear thing. They're usually of the type of, well, you know, women are nuts and you'd be begging for my help, whatever, and I would never fucking do that or whatever, something like that. And I understand why men get offended at this. When they specifically get offended by this man versus bear thing, it's because the idea of men being violent, crazed lunatics is a stereotype. And it is. Even if you think the stereotype is deserved, which, spoilers guys, it is deserved. Even if you agree that it's deserved, it is still a stereotype. And the first reaction when we're confronted by stereotypes is to push back. It's really no different than somebody saying, for example, I don't trust black surgeons. Like, I would never have open heart surgery with a black doctor. Why do people say that? Because of stereotypes. Like, if I were to say, oh, well, I don't trust a female airline pilot. If you got mad at that, what I just said, if you're a woman and you got mad at what I just said, that's because it's a stereotype. And like all stereotypes, it's not true. It's not something that you can apply towards every single fucking person. Stereotypes is when you take arbitrary judgments and you apply them towards every single person in a group. And they're always wrong. So if you got pissed at that, if you're a man and you got pissed when you heard any of these videos of women saying that they trust the bear, I understand why you're angry. And, you know, to be honest, I got a little angry too. Because, you know, I am also a man. You say, well, hey, I would never hurt anybody. I'd never hurt anyone like that. Why am I being lumped in with all of these people? This response is so common that there's a feminist meme about it. The not all men meme. Go to Twitter, go to TikTok, go to Reddit, type in not all men, and you will see what I'm talking about. There's even a Wikipedia page. Let's go ahead and open it up, actually. This is the Not All Men Wikipedia page. The hashtag not all men is a feminist internet meme. A shortening of the phrase, not all men are like that, sometimes abbreviated NAMALT. It is a satirical parody of arguments used to deflect attention away from men in discussions of sexual assault, the gender pay gap, and other feminist issues. The phrase not all men are like that has been in use online since the mid-2000s as a general defense of men. It was used as a catchphrase among men's rights movements, MRAs, in response to online discussions of misogyny or sexual abuse, which they saw as blaming all men as perpetrators. No need to read all of that shit, but you basically see what we're talking about here. That's how common that response is there. Here's the thing about this. The women are correct. Yes, it's a stereotype. Yes, not every man is a crazed lunatic. But there's good reason to be afraid of men. Especially strange men you don't know in the woods or that you come across late at night someplace. Let me ask you guys a question, okay? Would you trust a man to babysit your child? Now, most of you out there would probably say, yes, of course I would. With the caveat of, if I knew him well. Because don't lie, fellas. When I said that, your first reaction was hell no. That was your first reaction. Don't lie. Yes, it was. Okay? Yes, it was. The first thing you said was no. Hell no. But let me ask you another question, right? Do you have that same reaction when it comes to a female babysitter? If you put out an ad for someone to babysit your kid and a 17-year-old girl showed up, would you have any kind of qualms at all? I mean, maybe because she's young or whatever. But would you have any kind of fear that she would do something violent or inappropriate with your children? No. What if a 17-year-old boy answered your ad to watch your kids? You'd be a little afraid. What if a 35-year-old man answered your ad to watch your kids? Don't lie. The minute I said that, every single one of you guys said, hell fucking no. Why is a 35-year-old man or a 40-year-old man looking for jobs as a babysitter? That's exactly what you said in your head. So why is that? Why is it that you have that guttural reaction towards men doing something like being the caregivers for children and not women? Because of the stereotype. And why? Because you know that that stereotype is well deserved. You know that you're much less likely for a woman to do something inappropriate in this situation rather than a man to do something inappropriate. That's just the truth. And we need to acknowledge that as men before we can move past this, before we can move on. The stereotype is justified in some degree. I'm not saying it's justified. Of course, all stereotypes are stereotypes and all stereotypes are bad. They are. But that's just how the real world is. The vast majority of murderers and rapists are men. Before you MRM types out there tell me that, oh, well, more women rape men than men rape women and blah, 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 that's bullshit, okay? Every time I have this discussion, there's always some MRM type who comes on and starts fucking posting like some bullshit fucking statistics that are like twisted around to make it look like men are the real victims of rape and domestic violence. And that's a load of fucking crap. I have some stats here. This is from RAINN, which is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. 1 in 6 women have reported an attempted or completed rape. 1 in 6. That means plenty of people that you know personally. 1 in 33 men have reported attempted or completed rape. So those numbers are not even close. I mean, yes, men get raped. That happens. All right, that is a thing that happens. So there's not anywhere close to the amount of victims as there are with women. It's just, there's no comparison. The majority of cases of men who report rape, spoiler alert, guys, the perpetrators in those cases are also men. See, because that's another thing that the MRM types will try to fool you with. Like, they'll try to, post stats saying things like, oh, well, there's plenty of cases of women raping men, and there's like an FBI stat where they call it made to penetrate. And that's what the thing they cite. Even with that, it's not even close. The disparity in the gender of the victims is not even close. The disparity in the gender of the perpetrators is not even close. There's just not an epidemic of women raping men. No. Here's some more stats. These actually come from the Department of Justice. According to the Department of Justice, as of 2021, 91% of rape victims are female, 9% are male. Keep in mind these are the reported victims, but most men who get raped actually don't report it. So there is some validity in saying that, well, those numbers are not completely accurate because we don't know the number of men who've been raped, whatever, because they don't report it, because there's a stigma against it. But that doesn't change the fact, even if they do report it, it's I still don't think we're going to have parity. It's still going to be overwhelmingly the victims will be women. It may tighten up by 1 or 2%, but that's what it stands at now. That's according to the Department of Defense, right? That's the most non-biased stats you can get. Just raw numbers. 99% women, 9% men. Or 91% women, 9% men. And in those cases, all of these cases which are reported to the Department of Justice, 99% of the perpetrators are men. Just want to emphasize that. So even when men report being raped, they report being raped by other men. That's what's going on here. So can you blame someone for relying on stereotypes when that's the reality? Those kinds of numbers are the reality that victims out there face. Can you blame them for relying on stereotypes and choosing the bear? Obviously not. Any rational person would do so, right? And we as men just don't understand that because it's not a thing that we encounter in our daily lives. It's not a fear that we have. We're not constantly looking over our shoulders, afraid of every single person that walks by that could potentially rape and kill us. That's a privilege that we have. Well, I mean, I don't know if you can call that a privilege, the privilege of not being afraid, I guess. It's definitely something that is not within our lived experience. It's not just rape, though. It's pretty much all crimes. The majority of the criminals are men. It's every single crime that gets reported. The only category in which women get arrested more often than men, like as far as crime goes, is prostitution, which is no surprise there. And honestly, I mean, I don't think prostitution even should be a crime. I think that should be like perfectly fucking legal. I don't see why you shouldn't be allowed to do anything you want with any partner that you want, up to and including taking money for it. I don't see what's wrong with that, but that's just my opinion. You know, guys, when you hear this stuff, when you see these videos, the thing you got to remember is that they're not talking about you personally. Because that's what it is. You know, you see this, you see people relying on stereotypes like this, you get a little offended by that. You know why? Because it's a stereotype and it hits home, and you instantly think that they're talking about you. And it's like, well, you got to realize, men who watch my channel, you know, 98% of my audience who watch my channel who are men, please realize that they're not talking about you specifically. Would you ever take advantage of a woman like that in the woods and rape and kill them? No. At least I would hope not. I would hope that none of my viewers would do something like that. So you would never do that, right? So they're not talking about you. Just keep that in mind. They're not talking about you. These women are expressing their frustration at the reality of crime and victimization, especially when it comes to rape and sexual assault in this country. Because that's the reality. That's the reality, is that they're forced to live in a world where they're constantly afraid for their lives. And it's not fair. It's fucking bullshit. So yeah, maybe some women actually would prefer to be eaten by a bear than to have to go through something like that. That's just reality, folks. So yeah, don't get mad. One day, when there aren't 321,000 rapes every year in the country, when that's no longer the reality, then maybe we can push back. Right? If you want to help make that the new reality, support groups like RAIN, that kind of thing. Get help for the victims of rape and sexual assault and that kind of stuff like that. And help change society for the better. And then maybe you won't have to get mad at random internet videos.
And you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.